Y'all status Bill Hubble. I bought Lennox Mall for my brothers. Oh, your bag, tote the cutter. I got it out the field, fuck Russell. Going ass L'Oreal about the paddock, and going ass Jordan, ass dead. For leak water, trying to drown a bitch. That's a habit, tricking on a bitch. Shit, I'm thinking I'm crippin' a pimp. Shit, I'm cooking up dope like a dump. Shit, like her gon' sit nigga trim. Shit, I'm floating, I'm hot in the blimp. Shit, it look like I'm swimming in glass. Shit, I turn on my bitch cause she bad. Shit, I'm making my ex nigga mad. Shit, they go for that number for smack. Real nigga learn them, wearing a bag. Piping a bitch and they nail like I can. Turn up the shooters with switches go bad. Stay with some scammers, but not with some pain. Trapping no rapping, my dog, he fall off. No capping, no bound.
I'm gonna tap the screen for that. Good content tonight. Yeah. I'ma do the do, man.
Tap the screen, man. And welcome to Self-Made Hustle TV, where the hustle has to be in you, not on you. Man, we're gonna get into some shit that I've been blessed to even use the content, because the guy just went platinum off this shit. Like, and I got in contact with him and he said I could use a little bit of his content, man. Cool white dude, man. Shout out to What's the Dirt, man. That's the name of the page, What's the Dirt. Shout out to him, man, because that boy let me use that shit and he didn't have to, because that boy doing millions right now, man. So we gonna get on this. So what we on today is I'm gonna go into some shit about we're gonna go into some music breakdown of the Kendrick Lamar versus Drake. We're gonna break down some of the subliminal messages and all this shit that was meant, that I be trying to prove to why he really stumped on Drake. Like, he stumped on him. He studied him for years. He had shit tucked in the corner, just waiting on him to fuck up. You know, you got that nigga that you know that come around you. You know he gonna fuck up, and you just be waiting on that moment so he can fuck up, so you can get on his ass. Yeah, that's what Kendrick did. That's what Kendrick did. And what's crazy, salute Waco. And what's crazy, salute to all. If I ain't see y'all, I'm popping it right now. What's crazy about these breakdowns is nobody black's doing it. It is a white guy. Shout out to all my Caucasians. I'm not being racist. It is a white guy, and he does a damn good job of this shit. Like, and it's scary because if he can break these songs down, these are probably some of the people that Damn. These are some of the people that motherfucking like that the feds are hired to watch these niggas' lyrics to see what they be saying and shit, because he breaks this shit down to the T. And we're gonna get into this.
What I can say is that I put an enormous amount of effort and time into these videos, and there's a reason why all of my breakdowns are different from everyone else's. To try and figure out what it all means, like, I'm not just pulling info from Genius, I'm studying the lyrics for hours and hours and hours. Like, a lot of time goes into this. With all that said, just a week ago, Kendrick Lamar dropped a 6-minute diss record towards Drake. And I really do appreciate anyone that waited for this video, the patience. Like, I know what this moment is. I can't do this twice, so I'm trying to do it right. All right, so first and foremost, the title, Euphoria. So much to unpack in this in itself. Now, as you guys know, on Drake's track, Tailor Made, he said that he was expecting a quintuple entendre from Kendrick due to his delay.
You better have a motherfucking quintuple entendre on that shit.
Ain't that what he said? You better have a quintuple. A quintuple, what's that for, right?
Some shit I don't even understand.
And Kendrick did that in the title, and then some. Now, before I break down all the meanings of this title, I want to point out the true hidden meanings first, which everyone has missed, and it is quite literally a large part of the entire premise and setup of this record. Uma Thurman from Kill Bill recently tagged Drake in a post on...
Right now, as far as rapper, we talk about rapping. We ain't talk about no freestyle, flipping and zipping and sliding and gliding. Salute, Miss Bams. Hey, nigga, we talking about rapping. No, it's only one person that can probably out-rap this man. That's probably Wayne. But I don't think as far as like, nah, man. This nigga is on a different type of subliminal level, fool.
Instagram, offering him the iconic suit where she fends off multiple opponents. Now, the objective of her character is that of revenge. She is quite literally trying to kill Bill. However, there is a scene in the series where Bill claims that she is a liar who is not just incapable of telling the truth about him, but telling the truth to herself.
Because when it comes to the subject of me, I believe you are truly and utterly incapable of telling the truth, especially to me, and least of all, to yourself.
To address his issues with her lies, Bill shoots her with a dart containing a serum called the Undisputed Truth, and states that the serum will cause a state of euphoria.
Gotcha. What lies within that dart is an incredibly potent and quite infallible truth serum. I call it the undisputed truth, with no druggy after effects, except for a slight wave of euphoria.
And that is quite literally the setup of how Kendrick approaches this record by presenting what he feels to be non-stop, undisputed truths about Drake. It is in this track and the upcoming tracks where you will see Kendrick paints Drake as a liar, as an actor, as someone that lies to himself, and just like Bill in this movie, Kendrick does not believe a word that Drake says. However, in the very first line of this track, Kendrick makes reference to superpowers getting neutralized, which is the exact same thing that Bill talks about in the same scene of this movie.
There's the superhero and there's the alter ego. Batman is actually Bruce Wayne. Spider-Man is actually Peter Parker. When that character wakes up in the morning, he's Peter Parker. He has to put on a costume to become Spider-Man. That characteristic, Superman stands alone. Superman didn't become Superman. Superman was born Superman. When Superman wakes up in the morning, he's Superman. His outfit with the big red S, that's the blanket he was wrapped in as a baby when the Kents found him. Those are his clothes.
Bill describes the alter ego of superheroes who require a costume to become that character. This is exactly what Kendrick does in most of this record as he strategically picks Drake's character apart. Bill then goes on to point out that Superman is always Superman. When he wakes up in the morning, he does not have a character. He was born Superman. Now, as we move further into this track, and as Kendrick alludes to Drake being a fraud, Kendrick is saying that when it comes to hip-hop, he is Superman. He was born this person in the culture that Drake impersonates with no need for a costume. So when Kendrick refers to superpowers becoming neutralized, he is essentially saying that in this track and in this war, he is removing the costume from Drake to expose his true identity. And speaking of beef, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Cook Unity. Cook Unity is the first
Man, hit the like button, man. This is on some free shit, man. Hit the like button, man. You gotta make a start when I be on here, cause I'm running this one and then I got another one. I be on this bitch about 2 hours. Fuck with y'all. It depends on y'all, man. Y'all hit the like button, I'll stay in here, man. Y'all don't, I'm gonna go chill with my gal, man. For real.
chef-to-consumer platform delivering freshly prepared, pre-selected meals right to your door weekly. And there is a few different subscription plans for you to pick. Choosing one of Cook Unity's subscription plans is quick, easy, and effortless, and once you're all set up, you will start to receive restaurant quality food your first order. And thank you again to Cook Unity for sponsoring, depicting the lives of teenagers who find themselves in very adult-like situations. Therefore, this reference is also clearly with respect to the ongoing rumors that Drake is into much younger women. However, the title is even more deeper than that. I'm talking about the studied phenomenon where people experience a state of euphoria before they die. This is by far the most strategic use of the title, as this is exactly what happened to Drake. Euphoria is in every sense of the word a bait track. Look at how confident Drake was. Like, Kendrick fucking knew. He had all those records recorded. Done, ready, waiting. Kendrick knew that Drake felt he had a slam dunk in his beef. He knew that when Drake dropped the Family Matters track, that Drake would have been living on a high, feeling like he won, leaving Drake in a state of euphoria. However, just like when people experience euphoria moments before they die, this is exactly what Kendrick did to Drake, strategically releasing a showstopper record just moments after Drake dropped. And look, you don't have to believe me, but I had this as a prediction in this script before any of those records even came out. I truly made the connection that Drake would experience a great deal of euphoria from that release, only to have it taken away by Kendrick. And it sucks that I couldn't get the video out in time, but seeing it all come true really just lets me know that all the time and effort that I put into this shit really does hold some weight. So this was literally all part of his plan. The long wait, the being quiet, like making Drake believe that he had the upper hand. Strategy, chess, fucking phenomenal. With the title out of the way, I've seen some theories bouncing around that are trying to support the claims of Drake being involved with younger women through the use of the date that the record dropped, April 30th, also known as National Children's Day. It's a holiday in Mexico, it's not an American holiday. I don't see the significance. Then we got the theory of Kendrick holding back the record to drop it on the date that the funny mustache man was killed, and given the fact that Drake is of that faith, people seem to think that something is also here. It doesn't make any sense. Like the funny mustache man, when he died, that was like one of the best things to ever happen for that religion. Yeah. Quite literally the ending of suffering. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah. Outside of the date, the time that the record dropped was 8:24 p.m., which is an ode to Kobe Bryant, who wore the numbers 8 and 24.
Hey, if he did do that, y'all, if he dropped that bit, ain't that a dope-ass idea? That's not a dope-ass idea to y'all, dog, for him to drop it like that? If he did, if that's the reason why he dropped it like that, it's got something to do with Kobe. That's a dope-ass idea. I told you, everything that the nigga do is witty. He not doing, it's a reason behind everything that he does, bro. It's not just, oh, I'm just gonna go in here in the booth, he going at me, I'm gonna go in. No, nigga. This is battle rapping. This is what battle rap. That's why a lot of niggas wouldn't laugh. This why Drake got in there with him and got tore up, because he's not a battle rapper, bro. He's one of them. I call Drake a Ja Rule rapper. Everybody remember the Ja Rule. You know, he's one of them type of rappers, bro. He not no bad boy. You think you finished Meek Mills because Meek Mills didn't have no intel on you. You barked up the tree against somebody who been holding intel against your ass for years and just wait for you to get out of line. It's dangerous.
Warriors glorified and made his.
That one does make sense. So we looked at the title, we looked at the date, the time. Now let's look at the beat selection. Structurally, the track is broken up into 3 parts with 3 different beats, which is deliberate and very clever, as Kendrick plays off one of his hardest lines from Like That.
First person shooter, I hope they came with 3 switches. I crash out.
I hope they come with 3 switches, and then he comes with 3 switches. Like, that's tough. The first beat is important for me to...
I hope they come with 3 switches and then the beat switch 3 times. Man, this nigga is hell, man.
Mention as Kendrick samples a track from Teddy Pendergrass called You're My Latest, My Greatest Inspiration.
More beautiful than the Mona Lisa.
Now, I've seen some outrageous rumors being spread that Teddy Pendergrass had previous allegations of messing with kids that are not only completely unsubstantiated, but documented absolutely nowhere. While my primary focus is breaking down this record, in doing this, I feel obligated to point out things that are just blatantly untrue. And look, I know Teddy had his fair share of scandals, but to just be pulling this information out of your ass and throwing it up online, especially when it comes to claims like this, you should probably stop doing that. However, interestingly enough, Teddy covered a song by Drake's uncle Larry Graham, who is a Hall of Fame inducted musician. Now, you can best believe that this is not a coincidence and there's a deeper meaning behind the use of this sample. I'm just unclear of what that could be. Outside of that, Teddy Pendergrass did get in a car accident which left him paralyzed in a wheelchair, just like the character that Drake played on Degrassi. And Drake's uncle has an accolade that is better than any award or plaque, any of that shit. He's known for inventing the slap technique of the bass. That is crazy, bro. Kendrick starts out the track with a small intro that has an excerpt played in reverse from the 1978 film The Wiz.
Euphoria.
The film...
Hey, pay attention to The Wiz, man. Pay attention to The Wiz, because The Wiz was supposed to be this big-ass motherfucking thing, but really it was a small-ass, scary motherfucker.
Reimagines the 1900 novel and 1939 film The Wizard of Oz in the perspective of African Americans. Kendrick uses this to symbolize that what he's about to craft is for the culture, something he believes Drake simply isn't a part of. He really drives this home, as in the context of this movie, Kendrick is comparing Drake to the wizard, who is played by Richard Pryor. Pryor's wizard is initially looked at as someone who is feared and respected. He uses technology and trickery to maintain his illusion of
like a lot of niggas do on YouTube. Try to scare you with them big loud voices and loud mics and all that type of shit, my nigga, when really the niggas be scary ass souls, my nigga.
But is soon discovered to be a fraud. This goes back to Kendrick and removing the costume from Drake's character. The wizard is exposed when the blanket is pulled back, revealing that he's not powerful at all, and manipulated people into believing that he was.
Phony! I'm sorry. Everything you say about me is true. I'm a phony. I got no powers. I got no right to be pretending to be the wizard.
Much like the wizard, Kendrick looks at Drake as someone who uses industry connections, fame, collaborations, fashion, hairstyle, and even technology like social media to fool people into believing that he is a person of the culture.
Everything you say about me is true.
When brought back to its original form, the line is extremely important to the overall theme of this record. Everything they say about me is true, the key word being they. As you'll see later.
You don't remember him saying that everything that they say about me is true? Bro, this nigga is a big movie watcher, old school movie watcher. He gets the points of the movie. Man, that nigga putting this shit together, nigga, like the nigga cooking up some work in the kitchen.
In this record, Kendrick does not present much new information with respect to Drake, mostly reciting pre-existing things that people have already said within the culture, aka things that they said. By not exposing anything new, many people took this as a weakness, but this is quite literally Kendrick's entire strategy with this record. Basically, Kendrick is demonstrating that Drake has been exposed so many times that he doesn't even need to reveal anything new, as he packages all the already existing info and presents it as being more than enough to remove Drake's costume. So it's critical to point out that in the phrase, everything they say about me is true, the term they is representing the culture that is hip-hop. So all that right there is the framework and entire setup of the theme of this record.
I'm gonna tell y'all something. Kendrick was like, nobody likes him. To the outside fans, it looked like people love Drake, right? The fans, they love Drake. But we saying the inner people, like the record companies and shit, bro, they don't like Drake, is what Kendrick's saying, bro. That's why he filing that lawsuit against Kendrick, because he feel like I get what Kendrick's saying it through, like, people don't really like you, bro. Like the fans and the girls and shit, they scream over you, but the people up top, nigga, they don't like dealing with you.
Record, literally. Another obvious meaning behind Kendrick's choice of quoting The Wiz is the fact that it is an African-American cult classic, which is likely what Kendrick watched as a child. Whereas someone like Drake, growing up with a white mother, probably only watched the original Wizard of Oz, which had no black actors whatsoever.
Them superpowers get neutralized. I can only watch in silence.
Kendrick starts out the diss claiming that Drake's superpowers have been neutralized while he watches in silence. Circling back to the Kill Bill reference, as I've stated already, superpowers being neutralized alludes to Drake's costume being removed, exposing the fraud beneath it. The line about watching in silence perfectly ties into the quote from The Wiz, where Kendrick is essentially saying that he doesn't even need to speak, all he needs to do is sit back in silence, as Drake's alter ego unravels by itself through everything that they, the culture, says about him. DMX pointed out years ago that Drake was a fraud. Meek Mill exposed Drake for ghostwriters. Pusha T exposed Drake for being in blackface and hiding a child. Joe Budden alluded to underage women claims. Rick Ross painted Drake as a cultural outsider that had plastic surgery. Tupac's estate disapproved of Drake's use of an AI Tupac.
Okay. Remember the AI Tupac where he used AI? Nigga, they made Drake take that shit up off of that nigga and take it down. Nigga, they said, nigga, you ain't using that shit, nigga. And then on top of it, Drake had bought Tupac's ring or something. That nigga, motherfucking Kendrick Lamar said, nigga, he'll give him $1 million for that bitch back to bring it back to the West Coast. Kendrick say, nigga, you don't need nothing of the greatest rapper ever, nigga. You don't need to own nothing, nigga, because you ain't that, nigga.
Over the years, the culture in itself has added even more into the mix. When it comes to Drake and the culture that is hip-hop, the people within it have already neutralized Drake's superpowers on their own. You'll also notice that everything I just mentioned are all things that Kendrick makes reference to on this track.
The famous actor we once knew is looking paranoid and now spiraling.
So right off rip, in the second line, Kendrick begins to chip away at Drake's hip-hop persona. This line is not just directed at Drake for being an actor on Degrassi, but as an actor within the culture that is hip-hop.
You're moving just like a degenerate. Every antic is feeling distasteful.
This line acts as a double entendre where, one, Kendrick refers to Drake as a degenerate, likely due to his internet antics and the way that he moves in general. He seemingly supports this further by labeling Drake's AI diss as a distasteful cheap gimmick, and secondly, he is watching Drake's career degenerate, meaning to downgrade in terms of quality and how it's being perceived.
Why calculate? You're not as calculated. I can even predict your angles.
So first and foremost, Kendrick uses a play on words in a mathematics setting, referencing calculations and angles. Furthermore, he paints Drake as someone who is not as calculated as he might believe, claiming that he can predict his every move, which is exactly what he did. He predicted what Drake was going to do on the Family Matters record.
Listen. Remember back to back on Meek Mills. Meek Mills wasn't ready because it was 2 songs. Well, you know what I'm going to do to you, bitch ass nigga? I'm going to hit your bitch ass with 4 of them hoes. What you going to do? You going to have to go back in the studio 4 times. Oh, it's too late, nigga. It's too late. Bitch, I already had this shit on the burner for your light-skinned ass, nigga. Hey, it's too late.
These stories on the family front, cause you heard Mr. Morale.
In the first line, Kendrick alludes to Drake seemingly suggesting on push-ups that Kendrick's wife might have been unfaithful. Kendrick addressed his infidelity on his previous project, and he is insinuating that Drake is pulling these claims out of his ass based on that info.
A pathetic master manipulator, I can smell the tails on you now.
Kendrick is basically claiming that Drake is twisting the truth to fit a narrative that the masses will likely run with, and that he can already smell the bullshit coming.
You're not a rap artist, you're a scam artist with the hopes of being accepted.
Following the theme of the record, Kendrick continues to drive home that Drake is simply not the person who he appears to be, by claiming that Drake is desperate to be accepted and that he fabricated a persona to make that happen.
Drake claims he wasn't cool in high school.
You know, it was, I just always felt like an outsider. I went...
Tommy Hilfiger stood out, but FUBU never had been your collection.
Kendrick claims that Drake is far more Tommy Hilfiger, a brand that is far more common in a white man's wardrobe. Furthermore, allegations were made years ago that Tommy Hilfiger was racist, not approving of different ethnicities wearing his brand. For the record, this has been proven not to be true, but it was a narrative back in the day. Kendrick claims that Drake never had any FUBU in his collection, which is a masterful line in itself, truly helping to drive home the approach with this record. FUBU is a black-owned company with the slogan, "For Us, By Us," but more importantly, FUBU is very much a hip-hop company.
FUBU, the clothes got mass appeal. They the best that ever did it. I'm just keeping it real.
What Kendrick is really trying to drive home here is that just like FUBU, hip-hop is a culture that is for the people, by the people, and that is something that Drake has no ties to, as he is an outsider. Kendrick could also be referring to a fairly recent picture of Drake wearing FUBU, and I couldn't find any other pictures in existence where he's doing that. Now again, to be fair, which I am, Drake posted a drawing that he did from when he was a kid. It was like a cat or something, and it was wearing a FUBU hat, so he obviously knew about the brand from a young age.
I make music that electrify them. You make music that pacify them.
Kendrick points out that his music electrifies people. What he means by this is his music requires people to think, as the brain generates a...
Boy said, my music electrifies people. Your music pacifies people. Hey, boy, this nigga was hitting that nigga with bars, bro.
Electrical activity when it processes thoughts.
Boy.
This diss record in itself is proof of just how layered his music can get. Kendrick creates music about real-world issues in a very poetic way that involves a great deal of comprehension. In the case of Drake, he claims that he makes music that pacifies them. Now, when we look at the definition of pacify, it is to cause someone who is angry or upset to be calm and satisfied. This is very important because Kendrick makes music to unite and empower his people. As we've seen in the past, protesters literally used his lyrics to make a statement. When we look at the subject matter in a lot of Drake's music, he is making the people do the opposite, calming them down by not evoking much thought at all, making them happy and pacifying them. And this line again went over heads, like people were thinking that he was calling Drake's music sleepy. Like that's not what that means. It's way deeper than that. However, the line also offers up another meaning, feeding into the claims of Drake being involved with younger women, as pacify could be in reference to a pacifier. This is further supported by Kendrick claiming that he could double down on the line, but in this case, he spared him.
I know you're a master manipulator and habitual liar too.
Kendrick then, for the second time, calls Drake a master manipulator, and just like in the Kill Bill reference from earlier, he claims that Drake is a habitual liar.
You are truly and utterly incapable of telling the truth, especially to me.
It's a genius chess move because he gave himself a bit of a safety net, and now we've been hearing the people talk like, oh, Drake's a liar. Kendrick said he was going to lie. That's what he's doing. He then makes reference to his own lyrics from The Heart Part 4.
But don't tell no lie about me, and I won't tell truths about you. Don't tell a lie on me. I won't tell the truth about you.
This is another really clever reference, as many believe that it was on that track where Kendrick took aim at both Big Sean and Drake. The key word being truths, plural. Like, I have more than one thing on you. Oh, you did. Kendrick then hits Drake with a nasty beat switch. When I'm driving in the car and like this beat drops, my foot just gets real heavy on the gas. Like I start speeding.
Yeah, I'm out the way, I'm low, okay. Yeah, the island right here is remote, okay.
Kendrick plays into the narrative that Cole and Drake cultivated on their disses, that Kendrick is laying low and not selling as well as he used to. The line is also a reference to Kendrick being low in terms of his height, which is something that Drake continues to play on.
I ain't thinking about.
His wordery is damaging, bro. His wordery is damaging, bro. After listening to this shit, I had to go back and listen to, man, listen, bro. The nigga wordery is mean, fool. Like,
no reaper, nigga, I'm reaping what I sow, okay?
So, as I said before, there was no way that J. Cole was coming out of this thing unscathed, and Kendrick proves this to be correct, as he has some more bars for Cole here. I don't think any of us could forget J. Cole's verse on Johnny P's Caddy.
Nigga want me.
Hey, but I'm gonna say this though. Nigga, J. Cole didn't want no smoke. He didn't want no smoke in this. He knew. And J. Cole got but not battle bars, man.
He on the song, he gonna see the wrath of the reaper.
It was in this verse where J. Cole really started to reshape the narrative of who was the best, and Kendrick takes the chance to flip one of Cole's hardest lines to make it clear that J. Cole is not the reaper, and unlike Cole, who apologized, Kendrick was going to follow through in his beef, reaping what he sowed. I said this 2 months ago. I thought that J. Cole was taking shots at Kendrick on Johnny P's Caddy. I do think he is talking to someone, and that someone, I feel like, is Kendrick Lamar. And Kendrick thought the same thing. I mean, there's a reason why he's referencing that record in particular.
I got a Benjamin and a Jackson all in my house, like I'm Joe K.
So Kendrick really starts to put his pen on display. He makes reference to Benjamins and Jacksons, alluding to how he has plenty of money. This is likely a rebuttal to Drake's claims on push-ups regarding Kendrick's contract splits. However, the law...
But this what's deadly about this, Miss Christine. I'm gonna tell you what, if you're a miss, if you're not, I apologize. What's crazy about this is that, dog, this nigga had this shit, like, put up, bro. Like, niggas should be scared of him and make sure that he like you. Because he had this shit put up, bro. Like, he was ready. He was ready. Like, he was...
Line is also in reference to Joe Jackson, who is Michael Jackson's father, and it's interesting to note that Michael Jackson also had a pet rat named Ben. Michael Jackson was weird from the jump. In this beef, the Michael Jackson and Prince thing just gets flipped and rebutted over and over again, and in this case, he's either calling Drake a rat or someone in his team a rat, or both.
Hellcat, made his homeboys in them types LA solo K.
There are multiple layers to this line alone. Kendrick brings up the Hellcat, which is a sports car trim for Dodge, but also by definition, a Hellcat is a spiteful, violent woman. Kendrick cleverly plays with the word hell, making it seem that Drake and his associates all sold their soul while simultaneously calling Drake a bitch. But in the next line, there's even more layers.
Everybody wanna be demon till they get chipped by your throwaway.
Kendrick continues the clever wordplay with his usage of the word demon, as the demon is a trim level above the Hellcat for Dodge cars. The use of the word chipped refers to the demon being chipped out so that it has specific programming tailored to its performance. Kendrick also uses the word demon as a play on Future's middle name, Demon, and references one of Future's tracks, Throwaway.
Gone for the nigga, get it over with. Gone for the nigga, get it over with.
Go and pet that puppy, get it over with. I always change the lyrics and sing that song to my dog. And being chipped by a throwaway is also a reference to being taken out by a gun, as when you commit a crime with a pistol, you throw away the piece to eliminate any evidence. Furthermore, being chipped by a throwaway is also in reference to Kendrick's track Like That, which is what sparked this entire thing. And what's even more nuts is that the Like That track was Future's record, the guy that he already referenced within the line. Kendrick is essentially saying that the verse that shook the world was a throwaway verse, it was effortless, and it was nothing for him to do. However, while on the topic of Future and throwaways, a throwaway is also a woman that you just hit and toss to the side. And as we all know, Future accused Drake of pillow talking, so it's very possible that the woman that Drake trusted to share secrets with was one of Future's throwaways, so therefore, he got chipped by a throwaway.
And
but
that's what he's talking about. That's the line right there. That's it.
Mine is even crazier than that. I need you guys to remember Drake's recent track with J. Cole called Evil Ways, as it was on that track where Cole had subliminals for Kendrick.
I stay out of beef, see niggas DNA get rearranged.
And to make this even more obvious, it's on that exact same track where J. Cole claims that he is going through his demon phase.
Young Angel going through his demon phase.
So when Kendrick says everybody want to be a demon until they get chipped by a throwaway, that's a bullet for both Drake and J. Cole.
Yeah.
In the case of Drake, he ended off his push-ups track by claiming not to wake the demon up.
This ain't even everything I know, don't wake the demon up.
In the case of J. Cole, he claimed to be in his demon phase, but quite literally got chipped by a throwaway when he got entirely bent at his shape and apologized for his diss that Kendrick didn't even open his mouth for, and then proceeded to delete it. J. Cole's diss was a throwaway. He fucking deleted it. Everyone clowned him for it. You got chipped by a throwaway.
Everybody wanna be demon till they get chipped by your throwaway.
This is extremely high-level writing. Like, that line is fucking nuts.
And I might do a show a day. What's a lame? Always a lame.
In the first line, Kendrick claims that he might do a show a day, possibly referencing J. Cole's diss when he said this.
And he's still doing shows, but fell off like The Simpsons.
The Simpsons has 765 episodes, and still to this day, TV channels are playing their episodes daily. Kendrick is claiming that, like The Simpsons, he could also do a show every single day, and likely even sell it.
This the catch to the shit. This the catch. How long Kendrick Lamar been sitting on the sideline? See, this is what let me feel like he's the greatest right now. Nigga sat on the sideline not doing nothing. And this is how you come back, nigga? This is how you come back, boy? It looked like normally you have to wipe the dust off the pen and pad, nigga. Nigga, this how you come back? Boy, you should have never left.
It out. So I'm hoping you guys can see the theme now in verse 1, where these last chunk of lines weren't just directed at Drake, but J. Cole as well.
Oh, you thought the money, the power of fame will make you go away?
The next sequence of lines is directed at Drake, claiming that Drake has always been a loser, and even after all the money, power, and fame, he's still the same person. The line is also a callback to his verse on Like That, where instead of the word fame, he uses the word respect.
DOT, the money, power, respect. The last one is better.
Kendrick deliberately changes the words to reference Drake's confusion of thinking that fame amounts to respect, when in fact they are two different things.
Have you ever played? Have you ever? Okay, nigga, let's play.
Kendrick then goes into a game of Have You Ever, but I also see this approach as Kendrick framing the questions somewhat like a therapy session.
Have Have you ever walked your enemy down like with a poker face?
Kendrick's reason for doing this is to highlight the cultural differences between them. Imagine Drake and Kendrick are playing a game of Have You Ever, where the questions are all about things Kendrick witnessed or was directly involved with growing up. Drake probably wouldn't have much to say because he can't relate to Kendrick's experiences.
Have you ever paid $500,000 like to an open case?
In the second line, he alludes to Drake having to pay $500,000 to a woman that accused him of sexual assault. And I know the article says $350K, but when you transfer that into our shitty Canadian dollar, it's pretty close.
I hate when a rapper talk about guns and somebody died, they turn it to none.
Again, there are a lot of...
Just him saying the 500,000 and using it when the title of the fucking tabloid said 350, and Canadian money is close. Just him using that dog is just deep, bro. Ain't nothing simple with him. Everything is elaborated, bro, and like hid under shit, nigga. You gotta look, nigga.
The cultural references layered within this track, and Kendrick's approach to lines like this one is to point out the stark differences between himself and Drake. Kendrick has spoken on gun violence in his music before, and does it in a way that is very tactful, pushing to influence change. When we look at an artist like Drake, while he does have some lines that speak on gun violence in a way that could be helpful, he has far more gun-related bars that do the opposite. Then when we look at some of the alleged crimes that are connected to Drake and his inner circle, which could be a whole other video in itself, Kendrick is essentially painting Drake as someone that really doesn't care to make any strides towards change, and that when he does speak up, it's more of a PR move.
Then hop online like pray for my city, he faking for likes and digital hugs.
Passed down by elders. People don't even know about the logistics of the beef or...
Everybody got a stick, we don't run fast.
Like, what the fuck is Drake doing talking all the gun talk, dog? Let's be honest. What the fuck are you doing? I always said that. What is this nigga doing with all the pistol play, bro? Come on, Drake.
And look, guys, there is a theory out there that's claiming these lines are directed at Jay Prince and the death of Takeoff, and that's pretty heavy shit. You guys already know I...
Nigga, they said it's Jay Prince, Takeoff, and XXXTentacion.
Don't do that type of content on the channel. I just kind of keep it to the music.
His daddy a killer, he wanna be Junior, they must have forgot the shit that they done.
Alright, so this line is fucking insane, and everyone missed some key references. First off, this is a shot towards Drake's actual father, Dennis. Unlike his brother, Larry Jr., who had a very successful music career, Drake's dad's career was far more lackluster. So when Kendrick says that he wanted to be like Junior, it's obvious that Dennis wanted a career that was as successful as his older brother, but that just didn't happen. To add the cherry on top, Drake's grandfather...
Nigga went in on that nigga daddy, nigga. That nigga went in on your daddy, your uncle, and your grandpa, nigga.
Other who went by Larry Sr. was also a musician, so Larry Jr. quite literally took the reins and not Dennis. Then when we look at the fact that Drake's dad has literally tried to ignite his own career by piggybacking off Drake's success, it makes even more sense. Even on his official website, the promotions are not even tagged as Dennis Graham, but as Drake's dad. You gotta hit the like button for that one. Come on. The next reference was also missed by pretty much everyone, and given the fact that I watched The Sopranos in full at least 10 times, I caught this one right away. Now you're gonna listen to me, Christopher. Yeah. This is a fucking business. Yeah. Sorry, that's just my favorite show. In The Sopranos, just like his father before him, Tony wanted to be the boss and overtake his Uncle Junior's place. Yeah. The line about forgetting shit that they say is a reference to Uncle Junior, who constantly begins to forget everything and eventually develops dementia, which is something that Kendrick mentions in the very next line. Drop a comment for me, come on. Thirdly, Kendrick refers to
Bro, bars. We are talking about bars. This nigga is a heavy movie, heavy show watcher, but old school. He not hitting you with nothing that's new. You new motherfuckers, you young motherfuckers, y'all ain't gonna even know what the fuck he talking about, bro. Bars, we talking about bars, man. Like bars.
Birdman is Drake's dad, as he was signed under him for Cash Money, and Birdman does have a slew of allegations with respect to being a killer. There's quite a few of Cash Money artists who have just mysteriously been murdered. So in the Birdman scenario, the reference to Junior is with respect to Lil Wayne, who once literally called Birdman his dad, and of course Drake took a lot of influence from Wayne, more or less aspiring to be just like him. But there's even more to it than that. That's not it. The last reference is to Texas hip-hop legend Jay Prince, someone that Drake considers his mob ties, and in this context, Junior refers to his son, Jay Prince Jr. The line is fucking nuts. Like, it's 16 words that give you 4 deep meanings that are...
That's when you know you got bars. When you can spit 2 sentences and them motherfuckers can mean like 4, 5 different things. It's only one other rapper that was like that. That's Jay-Z, fool. He the only person that rap like that, that's witty like that, that could make 2 lines mean 4, 5 different things, bro. That's why you used to have to listen to Jay-Z over and over again to get what the fuck he was talking about, witty. You have to be witty to be the best rapper. You're not gonna be the best rapper doing what Lil Durk do or doing what the Baby do, bro. This is rapping right here. Meaning this shit was so good for hip hop because it's been a long time since we've seen rappers rap themselves out of situations, out of beefs, instead of shoot themselves out of beefs. You know what I'm saying? This is what hip hop needed, dog.
Are all very relevant. It's a crazy line.
The very first time I shot me a Drake, the homie had told me to aim it this way.
This line is one of the more surface level bars. Kendrick is referring to shooting a Draco, which is a gun, but also sounds like Drake's name, like he's shooting Drake.
I didn't point down enough. Today I show you I learned from those mistakes.
Lastly, he claims that he needs to aim the gun down, which is in reference to Drake being beneath him.
Somebody had told me that you got a ring. On God, I'm ready to double the wage.
Drake purchased Tupac's custom diamond ring at an auction for over $1 million. Now, Kendrick, being from the West Coast and a huge fan of Pac, claims he's willing to buy it back from Drake for double the price, just so it's not in his possession.
I'd rather do that than let it connect.
You got to hate a nigga guts. If you tell a nigga, man, nigga buy a ring from Tupac, and you want it out of his hands that bad, you be like, this hater ass nigga don't deserve that. Nigga, I give you $2 million for that bitch can come bring it back to the West Coast where it belongs, nigga.
Idiot nigga make Pac turn in his grave.
And it's very possible that Drake bought that ring just to be petty. Very possible. It is a pretty clever line because by saying that Pac would turn in his grave over the ring, Kendrick is also insinuating that Pac would have been pissed and would have never approved of Drake's AI gimmick.
Cut the finish, you got shit twisted. What is it, the brakes?
So again, more cultural references here as Kendrick continues to chip away at Drake, pegging him as an outsider in the culture. Kendrick asked Drake if he has shit twisted, alluding to Drake's new hairstyle, which is indeed braided. He confirms this even more with the next line when he says, "What is it, the braids?" Something that I've grown to accept over the years is the fact that I'm never going to have braids, you know? And now, tough pill to swallow, but I feel like Drake's braids are just too tight. But he's not just talking about Drake's hairstyle, but his own. Kendrick has been known to rock braids himself and uses this as a reference and cultural construct to highlight just how rooted he is to the culture. Braids are an integral part of Black and African culture. The tradition has been passed down through
This is crazy because I learned this off of this. Bro, have you realized that the best braiders, I don't give a fuck what city it is. Where you from? If you want to get your hair braided, if the women want to get their hair braided the best, they go to the Africans. It symbolizes strength. I didn't know that. I knew that hair symbolized strength in the Bible, but I didn't know that in Africa it symbolized strength, and that's why they braid their hair. So this is the question that I have for Drake. Why wait till the end of your career to grow braids? Like, why you didn't grow that shit out at first? Like, I'm just...
generations to celebrate and honor one's ancestral roots. And most of you guys know this stuff already, but trust me, there are people watching this that don't know. Like, they don't know that at one point, people were losing their jobs left, right, and center for just natural black hair. So, and it still happens today. I've seen lawsuits in recent years of it still happening, unfortunately. It was in the 1960s where braids and natural hair became a huge thing during the Black Power movement. It was quite literally used as a statement and as an expression against white supremacy and anti-blackness. So in the case of Drake, as it pertains to this line, Kendrick is painting him as being jealous and envious of what he represents culturally. The braids are only used to reference Kendrick's own identity and his deep-seated roots to African American culture, something that Drake wishes he had and attempts to emulate. He continues to drive this home by claiming that Drake doesn't want to work with him anymore, and it all ties perfectly into the overall theme of this record to further support Drake's longing for acceptance but never fully getting it.
What is it, the brakes? I hurt your feelings, you don't work with me no more, okay.
Everyone that I've seen cover this, like this went over their heads. They were claiming that this line was about Drake's braids only, but it's a far deeper cultural reference than that. Like he's referring to himself in the context of African American culture and what that represents. And again, he's removing the mask from Drake. Like the braids for Drake is part of the costume. Lastly, the line is most definitely in reference to Kendrick's Control verse, where Drake claimed that he didn't want to work with Kendrick after the diss dropped.
Does it make you like not want to collab with him?
Yeah, I'm good right now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just about this album and me, and, you know, I don't know necessarily if I feel like 100%, like, I'm not like, man, send me some, let's work. Like, nah, not really. You know what I'm saying? Like,
There's 3 ghosts left, and I see 2 of them kissing and hugging on stage.
Again, J. Cole catches some bullets along with Drake. Kendrick makes reference to the Big 3 first-person shooter and Drake and J. Cole's tour that they did, where they literally hugged on stage. And he's also talking about how they act when they bring each other on stage, like as a guest, where J. Cole will be like, Drizzy Drake is in the building, way better than me. This guy's way better than me. And then Drake will be like, I got the GOAT in the building, J. Cole, his pen, I can't fuck with, way better than me. And like Kendrick's just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not on that type of time. I don't know what these guys are doing.
I love him to death, and in 8 bars I'll explain that phrase.
I really like this line. He claims to love Drake and J. Cole to death, but then proceeds to tell them that he's going to elaborate more on that in the next 8 bars.
It's not, nobody can tell me. I don't want to talk on no silly.
Personally, with this one, I believe he is talking directly to J. Cole, who felt extremely bad about his diss and very likely tried to make contact with Kendrick to try to smooth things over. I mean, Kendrick is in war mode. Like, he's not trying to hear all that right now. He's in a different space, but I think they will end up coming together in the near future, and we're finally going to get some music from these guys together.
You know I got language barriers. It's no accent you can sell me.
At this point, we have literally heard multiple accents from Drake. There's the UK Drake.
just like that one time at Cello, a good thing, man, we're pulling out phones.
The You Ain't Jamaican, Use Jafakin Drake.
And more tune for your head top, so watch how you speak on my name, you know?
Team set, the team dead end. Trust me, headshot them bomb.
Then there's the Toronto accent Drake.
You guys make me sick to my stomachs, fam.
This didn't exist before we were here. Look around at the square, I promise you right now.
Then we got the Caucasian Drake.
Just one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. Scrabble champion.
Is she really?
Yeah, she's just, she's a top shelf lady.
The New York Drake.
To try and show out with none of the study. I don't really do what other people do, like, or true religion. I don't really do that stuff, you know what I'm saying? But
Look,
What do we expect from a nigga that's an actor, though? What do we expect from a nigga that's an actor? Like, and I'm not saying that I don't like Drake music. I love some Drake music, bro. Like, but this right here, bro, you barked up the wrong tree fucking with this guy.
if you're confused, don't worry, because so am I. But here's how he actually talks right here.
Ash, forget it. Look, can we just break up and get this over with?
And people are going to say that I'm hating on Drake. I'm not hating on Drake. I'm a massive fan of Drake. But you can't deny that these things exist. Like, this is what Kendrick's talking about, is it not? It was Joe Budden that actually said the exact same thing in one of his disses towards Drake.
Say Canadian, maybe Asian, Croatian, be sounding like it's Jamaican friends, depending on what state he in.
And look, if we're going to talk about writing and punchlines and quotables and personals, like this diss track from Joe was one of the best Drake disses that we've seen.
You're cold and Aubrey, no, I'm a selfish nigga. The crown is heavy.
So again, notice he calls him Aubrey. That is the theme. That's who he's talking to on the record, not Drake. Coming off the Like That track, Kendrick made it clear that he doesn't care about the Big 3 and that he's down to ride solo with the Crown. Now, the Crown, to be specific, has been something that all 3 of these guys have referenced in their music at one point or another. In the case of J. Cole,
Aiming at a couple heads, bitch, I'm crown hunting.
Ray at the top playing keep away with the crown.
and no different for Drake.
Take my crown to the grave, I'm an underground king.
They never told me when you get the grind, it's gonna take some getting used to.
And it was in this line where Kendrick even quoted himself talking about the crown. Heavy is the head that chose to wear the crown. However, this moment in this era will act as the
Fuck that. Y'all double tap the screen, man. Y'all gotta hit the like button, my nigga. Goddamn, we got 182 people in here. Y'all just gonna just watch and y'all like the content, man. Hit the like button, my nigga. Just the like button. It's just simple. Double tap the screen or the 3 dots at the top in the corner. It's simple math, man.
deciding factor on whose head the crown belongs on, and Kendrick seems to understand the mission as there's no friends when it comes to his end goal. He really drives this home with the YNW Melly reference, where Melly was accused of murdering his own friend.
I pray they my real friends, if not, I'm YNW Melly.
What's also interesting to note is that YNW Melly took to Instagram a month ago to make claims that he felt Kendrick took shots at him on the Like That record.
Crash out like fuck rap, this Melly Mel if I had to.
I don't see the connection. Like, to me, this line is clearly about Melly Mel, but he does mention his name on this record.
I don't like you popping shit at Pharrell. For him, I inherit the beef. Yeah, fuck all that pushing P. Let me see you push a T.
Drake sent subliminal shots at Pharrell in 2023 on Travis Scott's Meltdown. Now, I'm not going to break down his shots towards Pharrell in this video because that will be off topic, but I do believe the true reason for the tension is because of Pharrell's production work on Pusha T's last album. So Pusha's last album had 12 tracks on it, and 8 of them were produced by Pharrell. And it's one of my favorite albums of the last 4 or 5 years. Amazing album. Kendrick claims that he's got no issue inheriting the beef on Pharrell's behalf, telling Drake to stop pushing P, meaning leave Pharrell alone. The phrase is also, of course, something that was popularized by Gunna through his hit record, Pushin' P.
I'm Push P.
However, the line holds even more depth as Drake referenced the phrase in a song himself.
Steady pushing P, niggas pushing P, TSD.
To explain a little better, the phrase pushing P basically means keeping a player, acting with integrity whilst staying successful. In this scenario, Kendrick tells Drake to forget about the integrity and hits Drake in a sore spot by bringing up his infamous loss to Pusha T. Drake allegedly had a career-ending red button diss for Pusha, to which Jay Prince shut down as he said Drake was taking it too far.
You know, my reasons for pulling the plug and having that conversation with him simply because it crossed the line of music.
So in the case of his beef with Pusha, Drake more or less took the high road, maintaining integrity, which is technically Pushin' P. However, I also feel the words, "let me see you push a T," has a couple meanings. One, he's clowning Drake regarding his loss to Pusha and egging him on to clear up unfinished business. And two, he's asking Drake to push the red button on that track that he held back because of Jay Prince. Drake's been talking about his red button for a while. I don't think he has one for Kendrick, but I think he's got something for Kanye and Pusha.
You better off spinning again on him. You think about pushing me. He's Terrence Thornton, I'm Terrence Crawford. Yeah, I'm whooping feet.
Again, Kendrick brings up Drake's unfinished business with Pusha T, alluding to the L that he took. He then uses Pusha's real name, Terrence Thornton, and while he does clearly acknowledge that Pusha is dope, he claims that he's a far more deadly competitor, calling himself Terrence Crawford, who is an undefeated boxer. I found it pretty funny because in that clip of him training, Drake's music is playing in the background.
We ain't gotta get personal, this a friendly fade, you should keep it that way. I know some shit about niggas that make Gunna wanna look like a saint.
Kendrick begins to warn Drake and recommend that he should keep this battle light, but then he uses Gunna's reputation as a snitch to imply that Drake is an even bigger rat.
This ain't been about critics, not about gimmicks, not about who the greatest. It's always been about love and hate. Now let me say I'm the biggest hater.
Kendrick claims that at this point, this thing is not even about who's the greatest. It's about his hatred for Drake, which is exactly what I said 5 months ago, before any of this was even close to what we're seeing now. I've said it multiple times on this channel, like he just does not like Drake. Kendrick then goes into an all-out hate Drake rant.
I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress.
So again, as I mentioned before, the theme of this record for Kendrick is to bring up things that other people in the culture have said, and in this case, he's referencing DMX's thoughts about Drake.
Why don't you like Drake? I don't like anything about Drake. I don't like his voice.
This is where it started at, y'all. This is where the yeah, we can say DMX used drugs and this and that. Boy, when it come to rapping, that nigga can rap his ass out. And certain people orbits, niggas just not feeling. Nigga, these are legends. People who, if there was a hip-hop Hall of Fame, nigga, this nigga will be in it, no matter what drug he used. When it comes to the music, that nigga puts it down. And he didn't like that nigga from the jump. The shit started with him. This is what Kendrick is saying. I don't gotta talk, I'll let the people talk. Cause it's a lot of people that don't like Drake, fool.
I be trying to tell these people. I don't like the way he walks, like nothing. I don't like his haircut.
I hate the way that you sneak this. If I catch flight, it's gonna be direct.
At first, this line confused me because Kendrick is known to sneak diss himself, but the more I thought about it, he says he hates the way that Drake sneak disses. When it comes to Kendrick and sending shots, his subliminals are usually caught by everyone right away, as he makes it pretty obvious who he's talking to.
Yeah.
However, in the case of Drake, he goes about it in an entirely different way, where he sneak disses people to the point where only his intended target picks up on it.
Yeah.
Kendrick likely despises this approach because it limits being able to respond to where the people would even understand where it originated from.
We hate the bitches you fuck cause they confuse themselves with real women.
Kendrick then takes a shot at Drake for the women that he sleeps with. This could be in reference to him being involved with younger females, or the fact that Drake likely sleeps with the fakest, dumbest, self-absorbed women imaginable.
And then notice I said we, it's not just me, I'm what the culture feeling.
Very ruthless and direct line from Kendrick, just like the line from The Wiz, everything they say about me is true, and just like the Kill Bill theory, Kendrick is dishing out what he feels to be undisputed truths.
I call it the undisputed truth.
Now, when he says, I'm what the culture feeling, it has two meanings where one, the culture agrees with what he's saying on this record, and two, the culture is literally feeling Kendrick as they have embraced him as the face to carry the genre.
How many more fairy tale stories about your life till we had enough? How many more black features till you finally feel that you're black enough?
Kendrick starts to lay it on heavy and begins to deconstruct Drake's character. He references fairy tales about his life, which is most definitely regarding the subject matter of Drake's music over the years, where he tends to personify a tough guy act. He then questions Drake on how many black features does he need, which has a great deal of depth culturally. If we look at black art throughout history, the white man has been guilty of profiting, stealing, and claiming things as their own. Not only is Kendrick claiming that Drake hops from wave to wave to gain notoriety, he's strategically lumping him in with what is commonly done by outsiders and executives who use people in the culture for their own benefit. On one of Joe Budden's disses to Drake, he broke this down really well.
You leverage your celeb taking waves over, that's territorial takeover.
So right away, this is exactly what Kendrick's talking about.
Maybe you think nobody notices. Gucci wasn't home 2 seconds before you wrote his dick.
Gucci gets out of jail, Drake does a feature right away.
Hey, I'm gonna give y'all some more news y'all can use. What about Young Thug? Young Thug got out of jail. They say that Drake gave him $1 million. Hey, ain't that something? You the first person, man, get that nigga $1 million, nigga. I'm telling y'all, man, he gave Young Thug $1 million. Culture boy.
Body Versace flows, copy that he stole. Adios, meal, sorry, amigos, adios, amigos.
He hops on the Versace beat, copies that Migos flow, and then he doesn't work with the Migos till years later.
Was that your plot all along? Why you ain't do that vid with Fetty, but you hopped in the song?
So he did the song with Fetty, didn't do the video, and then he just ghosted him.
Sound like a zombie on a track. Who started from the bottom, it was zombie on the track. No, who else started from the bottom, zombie on the track? How come after that joint, I don't see zombie on the track?
So Mike Zombie is a producer that made the Start It From the Bottom beat, but after that track, Drake never worked with him again. He wasn't a well-known producer, and from what I can remember, Drake got the beat for an extremely cheap price. It's a story as old as time. Like, a lot of people have taken interest in black art, but then they take very little interest in the well-beings of the people who are making the art. And Joe made 4 different diss tracks towards Drake, and when all this beef cools down, I'm going to be breaking down those records because Joe was an amazing writer, and he deserves to have that highlighted. And the reason why Drake didn't respond to Joe is not because he wasn't worthy of a response, it was because he knew not to. He knew it was a bad idea.
You gonna make a nigga bring back Puff? Listen, it's certain people that you want to fuck with in certain situations. J. Cole is a rapping ass nigga. He knew, man, I'm not fucking with this nigga Kendrick. Let me get out your way, fool, and let you see if you can handle it, nigga. Cause I know that, nigga, I'm not this kind of rapper, bro. And if he do got something on me, man, and my shit ain't together, man, you don't want to fuck with him. See, this all boils down to him fucking with that nigga wife, talking about his wife being a cheater. When Drake said that Kendrick Lamar's wife is a cheater, that he was sleeping with some other guy, listen, bro, it's like Kendrick went dark on his ass. He went dark on him, bro.
You see a church really crash one. You're my first one, but my last one. This a classic. You don't have one.
Kendrick brings it back to when P. Diddy allegedly punched Drake in the face and claims he's about to do the same. He then mentions Drake's longtime friend and bodyguard Chubbs, who was likely with Drake the night that Diddy punched him, and because it was Diddy, he probably didn't do shit about it. Kendrick then gets into the debate about classic albums, claiming that his first album and his last album were both classics. It's in this line where he cleverly snipes both Cole and Drake at the same time, as they both criticize Kendrick's catalog as of late.
Your first shit was classic, your last shit was tragic. Your last one brick, you really not on shit.
Kendrick claims that both Drake and J. Cole have no classic albums, and because this is entirely subjective, I do agree that Good Kid, Mad City and Mr. Morale are both classics. A lot of people didn't like...
What the fuck is wrong with people? You see, he go to the records and show the records. Man, them a classic.
Mr. Morale, but I think it will prove to age as a body of work that will be appreciated with more time. And that's just my opinion. I mean, like, all these albums are going to connect with people differently.
Let your core audience stomach that, then tell them where you get your abs from.
Kendrick uses a play on words to reference Drake allegedly getting work done to sculpt his abs. Kendrick uses this wordplay to symbolize that Drake's core audience is not that of actual hip-hop fans, and of course, just like his stomach, he's a fake person with fake music. And I know people are saying, like, what's the big deal? He got work done. I agree. I don't think it's a big deal, but in the context of hip-hop, it's just not something we've ever seen done before or be exposed. Like, it's not a hip-hop type of thing to do.
V12 is a fast one. Last one.
Coming off the last line, Kendrick references a plastic surgery machine called the V12, and of course, it's obviously a reference to an engine found in sports cars.
Headshot for the year. You better walk around like Daft Punk.
Just think about it. Not like us. Number one on the chart.
So the BBL machine is called the V12 machine. And he threw that shit at the boys. How the fuck did you know that? Like, we all know that Drake allegedly got a BBL. But how the fuck did you know the name? This nigga is too fucking smart, dog. You don't want to fuck with him. What would make him go say, let me research the machine that they do the BBLs on. Oh, it's a V12. Oh, man, get the fuck out of here, man. This nigga Kendrick is smoking. This nigga is cooking.
Right now, not going anywhere. Headshot for a fucking year. That record was already done at this point, waiting and ready. Kendrick tells Drake that he's coming with a headshot that will leave him so embarrassed that he will be ashamed to be seen in public. He does this by making a reference to Daft Punk as they wear a masked helmet which completely conceals their identity. It's also important to note that Drake sampled Daft Punk on one of his recent hits.
One more time, you gotta run a face.
On to verse 2.
Remember?
Kendrick starts off by reciting Drake's track Worst Behavior, where the premise of that entire song is Drake highlighting how he was never embraced, how people counted him out, and he's basically reminding those people of who he is today.
Never loved us. Remember?
The record is basically an in-your-face moment for Drake. Like, remember me? Remember how you treated me? Now look at me. It's a very clever callback from Kendrick as it highlights what he's been saying on this track. Drake was looked at as an outsider, but when artists realized that he could be used as a means of pushing their careers further, like getting a Drake feature, they started to embrace him.
Hey, top dog, who the fuck they think they playing with? Extortion my middle name as soon as you jump off of that plane, bitch.
Just like every good diss track, Kendrick is rebuttaling Drake's narratives from push-ups. One of the main components of that diss, right down to the hook and the title, was directly tied to Kendrick allegedly being extorted by TDE.
I'm allergic to the lame shit. Only you like being famous. Yachty can't D and no swag neither. I don't give a fuck about who you hanging with.
When we really sit back and think about this thing, Kendrick and Drake couldn't be more different. These guys are literally polar opposites, not just in music that they make, but in the way that they move, the way that they live, the things that are important to them, their values, their moral compass. They are just two completely different people. It's pretty clear that Kendrick doesn't value fame. He's not on social media. He's very quiet, reserved. He's not flashy. The line about Lil Yachty is in reference to Drake's friendship with him. Drake is excellent at remaining tapped into what the youth are doing, and people like Yachty act as a vessel to doing just that.
I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk, I hate the way that you dress.
Coming back to the Kill Bill theory, the way that Drake walks, talks, and dresses are all aspects that are tied to his costume. Kendrick hates these things not because of what they represent, but because it's not authentic to Drake's true identity.
She wanted that feature request. You know that we got some shit to address.
This line didn't surprise me in the slightest. I truly believe that Drake has made attempts to make amends with Kendrick over the years and likely wanted to get back in his good graces. While we know Drake is competitive, I believe he wanted to make Kendrick an asset rather than an enemy. However, because of the differences in these two people, Kendrick probably realized pretty quickly that Drake wasn't someone that he cared to get along with. Drake and Kendrick have been exchanging subliminals for the better part of a decade, and while Drake maybe viewed this as friendly sparring, Kendrick has proven to be someone that values the crown in a different way. Fuck the big three, it's just big me.
I even hate when you say the word nigga, but that's just me, I guess. Some shit just cringeworthy. Ain't even gotta be deep, I guess.
So another line with an extreme amount of depth culturally. You need to think about how and where Kendrick grew up. Kendrick is from Compton, Section 8 projects to be specific. His family has direct ties to gang culture. He was 5 years old when his city was tipped upside down during the Rodney King riots. When you think about the use of the N-word and the history of how it became a thing in African-American culture, what he's saying makes even more sense. America has deep ties to slavery literally in the millions. In the case of Drake, he grew up in Canada, a place that does not have a history of black slavery. In fact, Canada only has 4,000 documented slaves. Then when we look at how Drake grew up, being raised in an affluent white neighborhood, going to very good schools, it's 100% clear that the N-word wasn't something that he heard being used. He didn't hear it from his mother's family, he didn't hear it from his friends, he didn't hear it at school. It just wasn't intertwined with his upbringing. Basically, there came a day in Drake's music career where he decided that he was going to start using the word. It isn't a natural thing for him, and it never was. Kendrick looks at Drake's use of the N-word just like the other aspects that make up his costume. This is not even up for debate. Like, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to tell you that that word clearly doesn't fit into the way that Drake speaks naturally. And I saw that a lot of people tried to pigeonhole Kendrick on this record as being racist, but that's not what any of this actually means. Kendrick is not trying to disregard that Drake is half black. He's just pointing out the elephant in the room.
Matter of fact, I ain't even bleed him yet. Can I bleed him? When I see you stand by Sexy Red, I believe you see two bad bitches.
He starts by adding some humor into the mix, poking fun at Drake's relationship with Sexy Red, where Kendrick essentially correlates Drake's energy with that of a female and not a man's.
I believe you don't like women. It's real competition. You might pop ass with them.
Kendrick then continues with the humor from the previous line. Sexy Red, along with their fan base, are known for twerking, and he says that Drake should join in on the fun. This could also be in reference to the nickname coined for Drake by Rick Ross, BBL Drizzy. Kendrick also seems to insinuate that Drake could be gay, alluding to how Sexy Red is his real competition when it comes to male attention. He also alludes to...
Think about this. Drake, do you really like Sexy Red? What Kendrick is trying to say, Drake, do you really like Sexy Red, or are you trying to steal a fan base? Boy, that nigga Kendrick is...
Sexy Red as being another form of competition when it comes to the actual music. However, the line also has a more serious tone, as Kendrick could be alluding to the fact that Drake doesn't like women because he likes younger girls. I mean, at this point, it's been Kendrick's main angle that he's been playing for most of his records, right?
Let's speak on percentage. Show me your splits. I'll make sure I double back with you.
Kendrick continues to chip away at Drake's narrative from push-ups, rebuttaling Drake's lines regarding contract splits, and Kendrick seems fairly confident that his circumstance is still better than Drake's.
You assigned to a nigga that signed to a nigga that said he was signed to that nigga.
Again, all part of his strategy on this track, Kendrick is pulling previous information from others, and in this case, it is Pusha T's reference from Exodus 23:1.
You signed to one nigga that signed to another nigga that signed to three niggas. Now that's bad luck.
Because Drake criticized Kendrick regarding his contract splits, he ultimately opened himself up entirely to being rebutted with a situation that could possibly be even worse. Kendrick alleges that Drake tried to strike down to like that record, which is an allegation that seemingly might be true, as we have seen leaked emails surface that potentially confirm it. Now, there could very well be some truth to it, but anyone can make one of those emails. I can make one of those emails that looks just like that in 5 minutes.
Back to back, I like that record. I'm gonna get back to that for the record.
Kendrick claims that he likes Drake's record against Meek Mill back to back and proceeds to dish out a double entendre. Firstly, Kendrick announces on this track that he's going back-to-back on Drake, which proved to be true as that's exactly what he did on the upcoming diss tracks. Secondly, notice how he uses the words "for the record." He uses this to point out that he already took a loss against Pusha T, but he's about to add another L to his record, receiving back-to-back losses.
Why would I call around trying to get dirt on niggas? Y'all think of my life as rap? That's whole shit. I got a son to raise, but I can see you don't know nothing about that.
Kendrick alleges that Drake and OVO have been offering money for information to use against Kendrick in a diss track. Previously, Pusha T publicly stated that OVO was offering $100,000 in search of information for Drake to use in their beef. He then points out that he has kids to raise, and unlike Drake, that's his priority. However, this line has an even deeper meaning, as Drake's father was absent for a large chunk of his upbringing.
Since my dad used to tell me he would come into the house to get me. He ain't show.
So when Kendrick says you don't know nothing about that, he's saying that Drake could not know much about fatherhood because he never experienced it himself. And this has been something that's been brought up in Drake's music a lot. So he's hitting them in a sore spot with this.
Waking them up, know nothing about that. They tell them to pray, know nothing about that.
Waking them up in the morning, telling them to pray, like things that Drake might not have had from his dad.
Teaching them morals, integrity, discipline. Listen, man, you don't know nothing about that.
So again, this is one of the hardest angles on the diss, where he's saying that Drake's dad wasn't around to teach him morals, integrity, and discipline. Basically, he's saying if you lacked all those things growing up, then how are you going to teach this to a child? You don't know nothing about that. And it's a brilliant angle because he's setting it up like this is the reason why Drake is the way he is today. You got no morals. You got no integrity. Nobody taught you.
Speaking the truth and consider what God's considering. You don't know nothing about that.
And what Kendrick also means is that all these qualities that Drake lacks, that he can't teach his own.
That's why I'm gonna stop spending these niggas on YouTube, because it ain't no rules in battle rap. Anything goes, nigga. Fuck whatever, nigga. So I'm finna stop spending these niggas and stop showing hard.
Kids,
Fuck you, niggas.
those are things that he's instilling into his own children that are important to him.
Ain't 20v1, this 1v20. If I gotta smack niggas that right with you.
Kendrick cleverly flips one of Drake's hardest lines from Push-Ups, where Drake alluded to the volume of people that were teaming up to conspire against him.
What the fuck is this, a 20v1, nigga?
Kendrick perfectly flips this narrative by claiming that it's really him who's outnumbered, as Drake has a team of writers helping him to pen the verses. It ain't 20v1, it's 1v20. I gotta smack dudes that write for you. Like, that's fucking hard.
Yeah, bring him out too. I clean him out too. Tell Bean that he better stay right with you.
Kendrick alludes to the multi-talented artist Beam, who is known for writing for artists like Beyonce, Justin Timberlake, and even appears on the writing credits for Drake's track Rich Flex. Coming off his last line about having to fight against 20 of Drake's writers, Kendrick claims that regardless of the quality of Drake's writers, he'll still clean them out, meaning he will defeat them easily.
Am I battling ghosts or AI? Nigga feeling like Joel Austin. Funny he was in a film called AI. Am I 6'6" telling me to off in?
These bars have quite a bit of depth and cause a lot of confusion, and I'm going to try to clear it up here. In the first line, Kendrick asked the question if he is battling Ghost or AI, which feeds into his previous lines about Drake having ghostwriters. However, battling Ghost is also in reference to Drake using an AI Tupac to diss Kendrick, and Tupac has been dead since 1996, so he is quite literally a ghost. He then makes reference to a famous but alleged corrupt pastor, Joel Osteen, who was accused of both using AI and ghostwriters to pen his books and sermons. It's also important to note that Joel Osteen is riddled with plastic surgery, which could be a reference to the work that Drake had done himself. However, it gets even deeper when you find out that Osteen's church was once caught in a child abuse scandal. One of Osteen's volunteers was accused of doing this, and due to the narrative that Kendrick has levied against Drake's camp, this could also be another reference to just that. He then claims that Joel Osteen was in a movie called AI, which is actually incorrect as it was a child star, Haley Joel Osment. It's unclear if this was intentional or a mistake, but I believe that Kendrick just simply used the name Joel to connect the two people. We then find out that the two Joels are even more connected as Haley Joel Osment starred in the movies AI and The Sixth Sense. The line contains even more depth when we look at the fact that Haley Joel Osment's character could see and connect with Ghost in the movie The Sixth Sense. This ties perfectly into Drake's AI Tupac gimmick, because without being able to talk to Ghost, how could he really know if Tupac approved of what he was doing? That line is also crazy.
Yeah, OVO niggas is dick riders. Tell them run to America to imitate heritage. They can't imitate this violence.
So, following with the theme of Drake being an outsider, in this line, he's not just aiming at Drake, but at Toronto as a whole. Run to America, they imitate heritage, is Kendrick basically saying that the people of Toronto attempt to imitate LA gang culture. As you'll see in the upcoming lines, Kendrick is mocking Toronto gangs for being imitators of LA gangs and saying that they aren't a threat. And Drake showed a lot of disrespect to the West Coast with the AI shit, and now Kendrick's flipping that, dishing it back to him, hitting his city.
Don't speak on the family, Crody. It can get deep in the family, Crody.
Kendrick doesn't appreciate Drake speaking on his family, as he did just that on the Push-Ups track, where he made suggestions regarding Kendrick's wife, Whitney. He then uses the term Crody, which is another major cultural reference. Crody is a name flipped on the term Brody, which is a slang term derived from African culture. Brody is simply short for the term bro or brother, which are terms of African vernacular dating back to the early 20th century. However, in the last 4 or 5 years, the term Crody has began to surface in Toronto gang culture and eventually became more widespread amongst the people of Toronto itself. Even Drake started saying it.
Cody, turn me up.
So Kendrick is really trying to drive two things home here. One, Drake is again stealing from a culture that he has little to no connections with. And two, Drake is now using gang vernacular, something else he has no ties to.
Man, we're going to have to end it right there. But it's already over with, really, though. And we're going to go to part 2 probably later on tonight. I'm going to come back with some more shit, dog. It's so much shit that this boy got, dog, that he done killed him, man. Y'all been good, man. I appreciate y'all coming through, man. And double tap the screen. Make sure you subscribe, share it out if you ain't shared out yet. Salute, y'all.